Okay, so I keep reiterating, and I will reiterate because of this video and how it's broken up and how I just go on what you consider rants or discuss things that you just feel like there's no direction. I do not have a script anymore. So those videos that you see on YouTube are usually scripted and presented and well presented. And once I realized that my YouTube would be completely controlled and censored no matter how I presented, no matter what I did, for me it didn't matter anymore the effort I would put in to present, because it would just be a matter of even being smeared or gaslit as to how I was presenting. That would be an issue. So which is happening now. Now it's my ums and my ahs and how I'm not presenting that is being gaslit and smeared. So I realized at that point it didn't necessarily matter. If you have any questions and if you're not understanding how I'm just talking through these things and why I do ums and ahs, because I'm actually thinking and just talking and thinking. I don't have any pre-planned notion of what I'm going to say other than my understanding of the situation I wish to talk to you about. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section and I will more than likely try to help as much as I can in giving you a summary of what you need to know. Just please be specific with what you would like to know and I would help out. So just know that. So I think that's what I want to point out. And that's why there's a second half of this video, because I've had to give you context. Context for me is really important. It helps to legally protect me. It also helps you understand the situation at hand. No matter how many times I retell it, there's always a different angle. There's always a different way of presenting it where this context now applies to this situation. So that's what I was trying to do with the first part. Now, the second part, as I said, is there was a situation a couple of days back where somebody brought up BarkJack, and I looked at a random post in January, and it went on to talk about when the Sussex baby scam happened and I did that campaign. BarkJack was adamant, was one of the accounts along with Lady C and Body Language Guy and the Royal Rogue and also Popcorn Planet, who supported it. And then, all of that control kind of campaign ran. When that all happened, BarkJack on Twitter was controlling that sort of outcome on Twitter by stating the kids were real. Megan had a natural birth with a doula, with Farchi. She had seen the ultrasound from a frenemy of Meghan Markle's, and when they announced it in September 2018 on Twitter that Meghan was pregnant, which at the beginning of September, when they said they found out, Meghan would be 6 weeks pregnant, and when they announced it, she would be 9 weeks pregnant. When she announced that, she actually said that she was having a girl, that the gender of the baby was a girl, and it was talked about by a frenemy who then, to cover that lie about the pregnancy, BarkJack then explained, this is a journalist, or two journalists by the way, supposedly, and didn't vet anything. She then said the frenemy had been lied to by Meghan, and that because that's what Meghan does, she's a narcissist, remember, that PR construct. So she lied to her frenemy about it being a girl, and it was a boy. and it was Farchi. So that's the context there. So she was adamant that 2 children existed and that she had a natural birth, and she knew that because she was provided an ultrasound by this frenemy to prove that there was a baby and that the gender supposedly was a girl. Now, in January, I found when I was looking recently that this BarkJack had said the following. In other truths that are not popular, Harry and Meg do have 2 kids. She carried Archie 100% without a shred of a doubt. This is one of our exclusives. Details of the second kept under wraps. It is unconfirmed, but unlikely still she used a surrogate for their second child. And somebody talked about the proof. Nope, not my proof. My proof is a call on a certain day when aides, doctors, and Her Majesty the Queen were involved. My particular source was rang by video I spoke to this aide, so a royal aide, who showed me dealings of a day in which included a US scan. Now, initially I thought that was a US American scan, but it's an ultrasound scan. So I apologize for that misinformation. That was unintentional. I have deleted it. But I initially thought it was a US scan, but realized it was an ultrasound scan when a friend told me. Via video from inside the palace. Yes, crafty. So that completely exposes not just BarkJack as a liar and not a journalist, stating initially, if you see here, that this source was a frenemy, that isn't true. In fact, it was a courtier or a royal aide. Now, BarkJack previously has said that their intel is are 3 sources within the palace and possibly courtiers. I'm sure she's discussed that in length, but of course investigations I don't think would be discussed, I'm not sure about with courtiers, but nonetheless she had 3 sources within the palace. And that got me thinking. I was looking at the work and I was seeing what sort of intel she was supposedly getting. So an important thing to note as well, obviously, I think the major problem was with that whole expose of, a journalist, a supposed journalist, not just the vetting of the ultrasound, because you haven't actually vetted it. All you've seen is that it's in a video chat and you've seen a copy of it. And you don't know what you're looking at. And a royal aide told you that it was a girl at 6 weeks pregnant. 6 weeks, there's no chance you can indicate or identify the gender of the baby with a 6-week pregnancy. There's no way, not even at 9 weeks when they announced it. So that then made me question a fuckload. How can this person be so protected? How can this account be so protected? And where the hell are they getting their intel from? How can this account say that they're getting their information from a royal aide, from a courtier, from within the palace, and say such brazen lies, like criminal lies? You're talking about the line of succession within the royal family. You're talking about the monarchy. So all this time, you've got the monarchy watching the public react to questioning these pregnancies, and this account is carrying on for all these years, since 2018, saying that their sources and their expose was legitimate, that they vetted it. But how could they when they were just presented an image of an ultrasound in a video chat with a royal aide when Her Majesty the Queen was there? and they were just giving them the news of the day. I find that unbelievable. Firstly, it's a narrative. It has to be a crafted narrative that proves Fauci is not real, does not exist, even then. And yet they made themselves vulnerable to that questioning. Funnily enough, no one has questioned it. Even now, I think a lot of people actually said, sorry, I do apologize. A lot of people have said to BarkJack, how the fuck does this work when the baby would be 6 weeks, when Megan would be 6 weeks pregnant? In these posts, you have BarkJack confirming to me, where is it? Confirming with me that, yes, they found out when she was 6 weeks pregnant and they announced it at 9 weeks pregnant. So we have proof that BarkJack, that is the narrative that was given. And people have asked, how the fuck is that possible at 6 weeks? But no one has said, well, how can you have an ultrasound confirming the gender at 6 weeks pregnant? Or even 9 weeks pregnant. How is that possible? How could you be announcing it? Let alone, I was questioning just the fact that she had not even passed the first trimester at a vulnerable birth, at a vulnerable pregnancy, at risk pregnancy. And she was announcing it within 9 weeks that she was pregnant, like to the world. By now, a royal aid approved it to BarkJack to expose it. It's unbelievable, right? So then you question, oh, well, what am I, this is my line of thinking at that time was, okay, is this legitimate? Like what's these discussions with BarkJack around this intel, around this, these sources, supposedly, that she has? Okay. So then I find this post where an account that also follows me called the Barrister Law USA, who was formerly known as the Royal Commentator, who is a large account on Twitter, because this is the community. The Megxit community is made up mostly of Twitter, social media, alternative media accounts, and then of YouTube presenters. And the YouTube presenters usually also have a Twitter account, and they work in tandem, giving off information and their supposed research or their videos, and tries to converse with their following. So that's what's taken place at this point now, that there's a community that's interconnected with Twitter usually and YouTube within this Megxit community. You have like Reddit, you have other platforms, but this is the main kind of bipolar in community environment, the use of Twitter with the use of YouTube. So the Royal Commentator, I know, follows me. That's all I particularly knew at this point. I knew they had exposed supposedly that Harry and Meghan were divorcing, I think it was mid-2024. And I said, as a lawyer, because they say they're an attorney, they said that they were general counsel within the healthcare industry and also an attorney within the healthcare industry. So that's the only credentials I ever considered of them. I said, as a lawyer, surely you would know. You cannot announce something like that without having, you can easily look up the case within the US if there's a divorce case or an application for divorce. Where's the proof? And they just said, oh, well, this is all we've been given, and this is the intel I received, and it was Bookworm's intel that she received. So there was no actual proof, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? And I just completely, at that point, just didn't even acknowledge her as credible, because because it didn't make any sense that an attorney would say something like that. to be honest with you. Legally, it's like, especially if you're not protected, this is what you get with a lot of the community. You cannot understand. I cannot make any allegations, right? I have to be very, very careful because I am a genuine account and a genuine person trying to research and expose the truth. That's why I research so much. There's nothing reaching about my work other than trying to find out prior who was the system, who was the largest system that was ruling the globe and pushing forward this globalist centralized ruling of the world system. You know, I didn't know who it was, and so I was contemplating between Britain and Rome, just simply based on the information that was being provided at the time. But this is the thing. I have to be very, 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 very careful with what I say. I only state what is true. When I feel unsure, I do not specify who or what, because legally I have to protect myself. That is just how it is. And when I go after something, when I call something out, it is usually the content that I call out rather than the person, because that would be defamatory. And because I know that happens to me. So I'm very aware legally of my position. So I have to be very careful. When somebody makes allegations like saying Meghan has like Lady C saying that Meghan has alcohol fetal syndrome or something, basically calling her retarded. That is a huge red flag to me, telling me that you are a protected palace account. No doubt, no question in my mind. Because something like that is so legally provocative, is so just downright unlawful, and it opens you up to so many legal issues if you weren't controlled, if you weren't a part of this whole narrative and you weren't a part of this uniparty of Meghan Markle and the monarchy and the US government. That to me tells me you are a controlled account. There's no doubt in my mind, right? So then when you have Twitter accounts talking about, say, Harry's a pedophile or a sexual abuser, like I've seen actual YouTuber accounts on Twitter say that. And then I've seen these major accounts that have smeared me say that. I know you're a controlled account as well, because that is so legally inflammatory. You can't say it's your opinion. That is just laughable. Absolutely laughable. You are accusing somebody of sexual assault. Okay, that is not your opinion. That is a statement and an implication. And there are repercussions to you stating that fact. Now, what was I? I've just lost my train of thought. I'm very sorry. When there's these statements that go around and say, let's say there's a divorce and then they cannot provide proof. Again, that tells me that this account is protected, whatever it is. And I just left it as that because I was so bombarded by this bullshit at this time that I knew the community was controlled. It was just a matter of them suppressing the information I had and suppressing my channel, and slowly and gradually them doing that. That was more what I was focused on at that point. And so it wasn't worth my time just for me to, I just focused more on the content that they were trying to say, calling out the bullshit of the divorce announcement by saying you've got no proof, and as an attorney or a lawyer you should know better. And I left it as that. And that's usually what I do. I just call out whatever at the time they're presenting. if they really piss me off and they continue intentionally to mislead, that's when I call the account out for just basically being protected, which I have done. And that's what I do, because there are certain things that you cannot accuse innocent people of, like these accounts, like even these YouTuber accounts, and get away with it unless you're a protected account by government, or by the palace or the monarchy or intelligence. So this is all I knew about this account, right? So this post that I found when basically, I don't know what the hell BarkJack's talking about. She's talking about the monarchy's atmosphere because of what the intel's providing her. And this Barrister Law USA, formerly known as the Royal Commentator, states your intel is the same as mine. It's an eye roll and a laugh. And BarkJack responds, "That's good to know." And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never really paid attention to this account other than when they said that divorce announcement. Maybe I should look into this account. And I realized that I've actually had interactions with this account before under a different name. And they've talked to me about situations with, or allegations regarding Harry. And I don't know if they told me or somebody else told me that they were a royal lawyer or attorney. And I found that interesting because I'm recalling that this lawyer is a healthcare attorney. And I'm like, well, how does this make any sense? At the time, I was just very confused because this account also said that they didn't say, and another account, because I was talking to 3 people at the time about this very topic, this very dark topic that was criminal, that account had left and been deleted to protect their identity, which is going to make you laugh when I go through the fact that she's now stating that she works for Elon Musk and the Department of Justice, and her account was set up, or this gig and this job was set up with Buckingham Palace, the monarchy, and the Department of Justice, that she was working for the Department of Justice by setting up this account roughly around 2022, which would mean she was working for the Biden administration. If we're to go with these claims, if we're to go with these statements that she has put out. So I start to look into this account, and I'm curious to find out that this account has started to support the royal grift and the royal grift's censorship industrial complex, because I've debunked in January that is absolute propaganda, and that is a reproduction, that CIC propaganda is a reproduction of Matt Taibbi's work, who many have said he is a CIA, something affiliated with CIA. He could be a plan, I'm not too sure, but he disliked Trump very much a few years back, several years back, and now is pro-Trump. And it's a very, very odd situation. And he's got this censorship industrial complex, right, that explains things that really doesn't make any sense regarding Trump or his first presidency, because Trump introduced artificial intelligence, which would mean censorship, and how social media and YouTube are censored to this day with algorithms. He introduced AI. Not only that, but he had his administration in 2018 was Heritage Foundation, and the director of Heritage Foundation actually became a part of Google until there was an uproar with Google's AI, by the way, AI ethics committee or some committee with AI, until there was an uproar and she was booted out and somebody else was taken in. So you've got AI happening all because of Trump in 2018 and pushing these the AI initiatives and within government strategy and policy. And this censorship industrial complex is also with Google, which hired his admin, the director of his administration, to be a part of Google. And there's these other ties as well. And it just, obviously it doesn't make any sense if you're to look deeply at Trump's first presidency. It's complete propaganda. And lately, this account has been promoting the CIC, or the Censorship Industrial Complex. And she's been endorsing it. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Really? Because I'm not understanding what sort of agenda is at play and who they're exactly talking to when they say their intel is the same. So initially I find that actually this account is quite proud and explicit about the intel that they receive. And at first it's laughable and trivial. You think, okay, this person's taking the piss, or this person is no doubt just an absolute troll, and not credible whatsoever. And especially with their announcements and the stuff that they're instructed to talk about, which they say they are instructed to talk about and are given reports on, or memos on, or calls on, that, you would think, okay, this person isn't who they say they are. But because of the interaction I had prior, I was like, this is really weird. And the fact that they talk extensively about the Constitution and how the Queen instructed them to learn about the British Constitution and how it's basically interrelated with the UK, the British Constitution, because that would be the only reason as to why you would be an American attorney, would be having to learn the British Constitution. She's saying that there's a rapport with the Queen, which I had already understood because someone had told me she was a royal attorney. So I found, or she did, I'm not sure, I cannot remember, I cannot recall, and I cannot go back to those exact messages because her account was deleted. So I found I gave that at least a bit of credit as to who that she was, in fact, coming from a legal background. But I didn't believe that she came from healthcare or anything like that. And her saying that she's receiving intel from MI6, I was like, okay, this has gone really, really weird. And I just look into it further. So she explained in a post that she receives memos and briefings, low-hanging fruit like Markle, which isn't really about Markle, comes in memos and entries to the case management system, to me, I think to her legal team, and she receives them, and she's given instruction. That's really... Then she says the royal family uses Snapchat or something like that. I don't know. Oh, this is her talking about the royal grift. She said, no, I agree, she has done a lot of work. It actually helped us know where to go look. So then I'm thinking, okay, so you've aligned the royal grift's propaganda work for an agenda with something that you've been instructed to announce. Here's another. basically what Harry is doing, the political interference in America, isn't only Harry. Harry's only responsible for it. This account also said that the royal family had nothing to do and didn't even know about Megxit. It's all Harry and Meghan. And so then I knew at that point that was a complete and utter lie. There are things that are clearly just fabricated. Just based on what the articles that I've seen and the research that's out there of Megxit and the plan done up by Lord Gate and Sir David Manning. So this is the saying that Harry's to blame for the political interference. He's trying to basically break up the Anglo-American establishment. Now, this account also goes on, and the proof, when somebody asks for the proof, she provides the Royal Griff's infographic. Let's just say that. So that's been then used to align with this narrative that Harry lives in the US, that he's politically interfered, and that he needs to come home safe, and it's her job to protect Harry and to bring him home, supposedly, this attorney, even though she's a healthcare attorney. And you can look into it. It's just, some things are just crazy. And she talks about not just the intel that she was talking about regarding BarkJack was to do with palace courtiers. In other posts, she talks about this being a job. I don't know if it's a paid job. I'm sure it's a paid job, not a voluntary job. But this is a job. And that another account called Queer Lips, which is some guy is helped work with her and fill this job for her, and he thought it was going to be an easy summer job, or his father thought it was going to be an easy summer job. His father supposedly went to Oxford with her. His father studied constitutional law within Britain, and then she tries to make this connection about I think King Charles's private secretary, who's a constitutional law attorney, wink wink, somehow being affiliated with Queer Lips and this father of his. And I've looked at Queer Lips' account, and he's trying to be like all for the truth and that he proves things, which is like, but you've got intel and you have courtiers intel coming at you, giving you information, which may not necessarily be true, just maybe the narrative that you have to sell. And that's all this is about. So, at this point we have a situation where this account is saying the intel she receives is MI6 and courtiers, or palace courtiers and royal aides. And she also talks about how the Twitter account, Baroness Bruck, when that account went sour, she discusses how that account was actually a Canadian courtier, palace courtier, who was bitter when the Queen died that they lost their job. And they were bitter, so they sold their account to a PR agency and then to Meghan Markle. Now that may be completely fabricated, it may be true. What frustrates me and what is really telling to me is that the problem when she was stating those supposed facts or statements, when she was making those claims, the problem didn't lie in the fact that all this time this account was a supposed Canadian monarchy courtier, palace courtier insider, giving us controlled information and controlling the community with its information. It was the fact that it supposedly turned into a Meghan Markle account. Now, doesn't that turn the head of everything about Boozy, which I believe is some sort of psyop, but doesn't that turn the head on, flip that upside down, to be honest with you? Because you've got now a completely controlled community online under the palace, but that's okay if it's the palace. And it's this dialectic deception, again, of this palace versus Meghan Markle. It's not okay and it's illegal if it's Meghan Markle, which, to be honest, Meghan Markle can't even... She can plastic bag pre-made peanut butter pretzels. That's all she can really do. She can't act. She blatantly lies, and then the Royal Rota and global mainstream media then try to cover up for it and try to nip it in the bud straight away. For example, saying about the Sussex family name, unless that was one of the distractions she was told to provide. That stuff is so serious because it makes her look like a complete and utter construct, that she can't even understand the fact that her surname is not Sussex. So there's so many things that happen within that, but the problem is not the fact that the control community is within the palace. No. That it's supposedly within Meghan Markle, and God knows if that's actually true. What if that courtier account stayed a courtier account and was instructed to go to look like they turned sour and they weren't controlled, to create this war, this two-sided war when Megxit happened, that isn't real? Who knows, right? But this is what this account knows. And so we're up to here. Now, this account also said, I'll show you here, under BarkJack, basically she's going on something the intel has given her. And somebody said, I guess you know the palace stuff incredibly well then. If they were leaking plans like this, then they should be sacked. And then Barrister Law USA said, yes, she does. And quite frankly, King Charles wants responsible people being handed the information. BarkJack is a responsible person. They also use the Royal Rota. Their social media game has just been improving recently. But yes, the courtiers really do ring people up with the Crown's consent. So then she's just established the same relationship, or the Crown relationship, with BarkJack, a fake journalist account, saying at 6 weeks pregnant, Meghan knew that she was having a girl and they saw the ultrasound. And it wasn't that Meghan knew she was having a girl, it's that the royal aide or the courtiers were saying to BarkJack with the ultrasound in the video chat, look, this is Meghan Markle pregnant and she's having a girl. This is the ultrasound that proves it. Now, this account had also pushed that the deep state or the enemy was Iran, and then also was Ukraine. And Ukraine is a new and improved enemy. So I know that deep state isn't Ukraine and it isn't Iran. Deep state has always been the Five Eyes intelligence of the British Empire. This account also talks about how the empire is changing, and the issue is not the fact that the empire is changing, like globalizing, or being globally centralized in its structure, but the issue is which will be the next empire. And they talk about the empire being the American empire, but then in another post they talk about the Queen and her ruling her empire, and that she disliked the term very much, empire. So this count, obviously, and of course, knowing constitutional law, would know about the Anglo-American establishment, will know all about the British Constitution that is the American Constitution, will know about the relations between the UK, between Britain, and especially the monarchy and the US government and whoever is President of the United States of America and the pushing of globalist policies. Those policies are never discussed from what I have seen. Like, the Mexico-Canada agreement, I didn't see any of that. They talk about, of course, I think they talk about more about the judiciary system and the political environment, or the actual staffing. I'm not too sure. I'm not going to get into that, but they don't talk about policies, and they don't kind of prove that Trump hasn't been pushing these globalist policies in his first presidency or even in his second. And they definitely don't talk about Heritage Foundation, and they don't talk about the empire being British, and they don't talk about the Anglo-American establishment. They only talk about the injustices of the current government, the government of Biden, and corruption within America, and they discuss the kind of like the political interference of Harry, but also the fact that Harry's imprisoned, or somehow, while he's too toxic to understand that he can't really, that he won't return to the UK because he is pretty much bitter and twisted and is an addict or a toxic person of some description. That was the gist of the background that they were giving. But that her job was to protect the king and the monarchy and the crown, and to bring back Harry, or something along those lines, which is weird again for a healthcare attorney. So, from only this information, you can gather that if there are, this account is affiliated, and so is BarkJack affiliated with, for example, the Royal Grift. Okay, and these accounts that make these allegations that are instructed by Intel, it's obvious to see that this community is definitely controlled somewhat, and that there are affiliates, direct affiliates of the monarchy at this point with the information that I've given to you. Now, and the content pushed a lot of the time are psyops. For example, the P. Diddy Harry scandal, whatever that was. Yeah, I didn't even bother with that. But that, for example, is meant to be credible. A credible, anything that hasn't been provided proof, just weird. This account also predicted that there would be an assassination attempt on Trump, and there will be a second. These kinds of things, like, so you're saying that Intel know that, and that Intel are telling you that, but it's just very, very strange. So you've got psyops, you've got the Megxit community, all connected within one another, that are then associating themselves with MI6 and the British monarchy through their courtiers. And as I said, with Intel instruction, there's theatre that's going on that is being said by the community as legitimate, and the intentional distancing between the UK and US is also the current distancing politically. This theatre is theatre that's being also being provided as legitimate, which isn't true. I think I've seen some posts about that as well. Not posts from this account, by the way, just other accounts. I'm talking about the general community at this point, and kind of just drawing some conclusions here as to, it's more than just the Duchess of Narcissix claiming that she's literally working for or affiliated with the OSS. She said it was her dinner, and an OSS dinner with I think it was the head of CIA, and then also said that she's affiliated with CIA to me. So that's how the community has insider information. So today I find that the same account is stating, so she initially stated that, well, when I say initially, I initially gathered from the information that I had seen that she was working for the monarchy and reached out to the monarchy basically when Boozy was around and harassing YouTube accounts supposedly, and that was when she started working for the palace or the monarchy. And but with the information that I've seen today, she also says that she started this gig, as in this job, for the Department of Justice in America. And as I said, that would be roughly around the time, if we're talking about Boozy, that would be roughly around the time of 2022. It would definitely not be around prior, during Trump's first presidency. It would be around the Boozy time, which was 2022, when that Netflix shit came out, which I think was December 2022, right? So it would have to be afterward if she's responding to that. But she was, even if that was a cover, that still is 2022. So she's saying that she started this gig and had this account to give out this information by roughly 2022. That is during the Biden administration. So being pro-Trump and saying now we're safe with Trump and that things are going to turn out is weird, considering you're also saying that you started this job under the Biden administration, under Biden's Department of Justice. So you've got that here. Oh, no, this is different. So February 2nd, but around November 2024, this account talks about how she's now working with Elon Musk. And she was, I think by December, what is it? Yeah, so this is November 30th. I'm working with X. She talks about that she was working with Elon Musk. So I'm guessing under the Department of Justice again. No. So December says that she went over the nominees for the Department of Justice USA. Everyone is on the same page. Great group of people working to be ready in 2025. So she was working she has discussed here that she had to change her handle at that point from the royal commentator. She couldn't use the term royal in her account, so she had to change it because she's now directly working for the Department of Justice under the Trump administration, which is odd because she's been supposedly doing that already. So there's no difference. But she's now saying that's important or imperative. And now she can only give personal opinion. Which is weird because you're still continuing with that account that you've created for this job. So whatever that is, you can, but this is what I'm saying, is she's now stating that she works for the Department of Justice under the Trump administration. So then she would have a lot to do with, if she was aligning the agenda of a presidential campaign for Trump with his censorship complex, that is Trump propaganda, if she was using that work of the royal grift at the time and still continues to do so, then that was to support, as she was working for the Department of Justice under the Biden administration, to support the new Trump presidential campaign, and then to support Elon Musk and Twitter. But that then tells you if she's receiving intel with MI6 courtiers while she was working for the Department of Justice in the US government, and now she's directly employed, so being promoted to work for Trump's Department of Justice, and she's going through the nominees for Trump's Department of Justice in December 2024, that not only has she worked with the deep state under a royal account and is a part of the deep state somewhat, and a part of the censorship complex, the real and true censorship complex, by giving out these psyops and telling us they're true, trying to convince us it's true under instruction to protect the monarchy and the Anglo-American establishment, and then to push a political campaign or the presidency of Donald Trump, and now works for Donald Trump, then everything is interconnected. The monarchy with the US government, the Department of Justice with MI6, with the palace courtiers. And this is, in fact, if you ever want to state or claim that there is a censorship, military-grade censorship industrial complex involving the deep state, involving MI6 or CIA or whatever have you, the Five Eyes, then this would be it, wouldn't it? That's a question for you. Wouldn't that be it? Wouldn't this be very telling, this one account, very telling of this whole Megxit community, if they endorse things that aren't true to promote political agenda, that is political interference, and that is in fact the censorship complex. So we can argue all day about Prince Harry and political interference, which they've never ever mentioned. The proof I have and the report I have, even though they follow me, they have not once mentioned, if they work for the Department of Justice, they have not once mentioned the actual political interference that's been proven in Australia by Archwell, an American charity, meaning there's corruption, there's a crossover into Australia where an American charity is intervening in Australian politics. That's never been discussed and never been promoted. But there's this political propaganda of whatever the fuck Harry and Meghan are doing and whatever the fuck Trump is doing, and Ukraine is the deep state. And this person works for the Department of Justice while they received intel with MI6 and the palace courtiers and the monarchy, and now works with Elon Musk and Twitter and Donald Trump. Do you see the hypocrisy? Do you see the actual contradiction in what they're promoting, this censorship industrial complex propaganda of whoever they want to blame, even though Trump really created censorship through algorithm with the introduction of AI? That's nothing compared to what this actual account has been doing. Think about that, and then their affiliations in this community, and that they're all protected, and that no one talks about this, no one exposes this, and and my account that has, I don't care if I'm not a part of the community, because I really don't want to be a part of it at this point. But there is you've got to see how this is played out. and that the Anglo-American establishment is in YouTube. The Megxit community is in the YouTube community and is in the Twitter community as well. Those two interconnected platforms. This whole Megxit community has to be questioned, and you have to question it. If it's not me that's questioning it, you need to question it. This account, I'm not stating anything that's insider information. This is all public information. They are very clear if this is a job, that this has been a job, and that their vetting process is now, has commenced, because they are now working for the Department of Justice, but also that they can continue using this account, but they have to just express whatever they say about the royal situation as personal opinion. So you can take that for what you wish it to be, but this is the reality. And I'm just glad that I just decided to look at BarkJack's post one day in the last week, because I've really now, everything I have questioned and said, you have to be protected to say something like this. You can't just say these allegations. You can't just accuse someone who's innocent on Twitter of being a part of this censorship complex that Meghan Markle pays off without proof. Where the fuck is your proof? And they ignore me and then and then put through a smear campaign that I'm paid off by Lady C and her GoFundMe with fucking Tom Markle Jr. You're joking. You're joking. I'm the one who outs the first time before this whole CIC really was brought up or installed. I was the first one to bring out the political interference in 2023. And you want to tell me that I am the CIC when this is the reality and the truth of this Megxit community? Thank you.